the Battle of Lexington and Concord, led British Captain Mowat to sail his 8th Canso and 3 other ships in the town. And just off the port, they told the people they had a half an hour to pledge your allegiance to the king and treasure get out of town. After half an hour, they started firing with their cannons. And over the next 9 hours, they eliminated 3,000 cannonballs on the city. You have to remember, the cannonballs themselves are incendiary and so it takes one cannonball coming in through your front window and the whole neighborhood is going to go up in flames pretty quickly. Hugely destructive fire. You can see a bit of the spread of the burn here on the map. You can also see that this entire side of Lundray Hill off to the left, which used to be grazing land owned by the Lundray family, was used as emergency housing after the fire. Folks spent a few years bringing military surplus homes while the home was rebuilt. We still honor that British captain today. They made hot sauce after the Pope and soy sauce. Rather Colorado Furry 1776. It's actually really good, sort of a spicy sweet and sour sauce. They have it for free right on the table at Becky's Diner down on Commercial Street. Really good with the fries or home fries or some eggs in the morning down there. Speaking of local food, you see India Street right here. Historically home to the Italian-American community here in Portland. I think we're having the Italian-American Street Festival this weekend. If you want to see some teens try to climb a grease pole, give your opportunity down here. But halfway down India, you'll find a Mado's Italian sandwich shop. Depending on where you're from in the country, like I'll call subs, hoagies, or grinders are Italian here in Maine. Same basic ham, cheese, veggie, salt, pepper, oil sandwich, but it's named after the Italian dock workers who would need a quick and cheap lunch. They'd come up to the original Amados and Grove. They'd make sandwiches assembly line style to get everyone fed and back to work as quickly as possible. Now obviously while you're in Portland, you have to try your lobster roll for lunch here. But if you want a little taste of what a local might enjoy on an average Maine day, I can give you a little 4-course tasting meal here. Tasting menu, rather. Start off with an Amado's Italian sandwich. Get a bag of Fox family chips made right here in Blaine, Maine. To go with that, grab a whoopie pie for dessert. We claim to have mentioned them, so does Pennsylvania. Bit of a bone of contention there. And then lastly, and easily the most polarizing part of our meal, is the beverage, a Moxie soda. I don't know if anyone's tried Moxie before. I don't see any outright looks of disgust, which tells me no. The very definition of acquired taste, Moxie right here. Like Portland City Hall up to our right with the Latin motto Resurgam. Honors that fire history, Latin for I'll rise again. Phoenix from the ashes idea. The only reason I can explain for Moxie's popularity, how bitter it is that Mainers just really like to suffer. We just think it makes us a little bit better than everyone else to put ourselves through hard things, whether it be cold winters or bitter sodas. And the First Parish Church, right here, original site of the First Parish Meeting House. That meeting house was burned down during that barrage in 1776, but when they went to go rebuild it, they found so many of the cannonballs from that incident that they jumped up and they used them to build chandeliers that are going to be church today. There's a little active defiance there. It still operates as a Unitarian Universalist church. They also use the doors. Any question? I don't. The question was, are they still finding cannonballs? I haven't heard any of that recently. I do know that you can obviously see some in the church. You can also see some in the Maine Historical Society up here in just a block or so. Monument Square, sort of the center of downtown Portland here. Named after the Portland Sailors and Soldiers Monument, honoring those who fought during the Civil War. hint of democracy happening in Monument Square today. And set a little bit back behind these wrought iron fences, this is the Longfellow House. It's where American poet and author Henry Wadsworth Longfellow spent much of his adolescence, known for his poem Paul Revere's Ride. The Longfellow House, which is attached to the Maine Historical Society, is the oldest standing single-family home in Portland, dating back to 1786. Photos or slideshow here. We appreciate your help. We're now firmly in the middle of the Arts District in Portland, which stretches from Monument Square up to the Portland Museum of Art, about 4 blocks, anchored by the Maine College of Art and Design right behind us, the largest art school in the state of Maine. Portland's a pretty arty town. We do one of those first Friday art walks here every month. Local vendors set up all along the street. Great way to support the arts here in town. Portland's quite the foodie city, said to have more restaurants per capita than any other city in America. A number of James Beard award-winning chefs in town here as well. Of course, we've got really good seafood, but great food from all over the world here in Portland. Empire Chinese Kitchen does some pretty funky Chinese food. Have Otto's, our locally beloved specialty pizza here in Portland. A number of locations in the area now. Known for their thin crust pizza with strange toppings. They do one that's mashed potato, bacon, and scallion. It's really good. And the Hay Building off to our left. Might look familiar to anyone who's visited New York City. Very similar in its design to the Flatiron Building, although obviously much smaller at 3 stories. The Flatiron Coffee Bar just opened there last month, replaced with Starbucks that used to be there. It does predate the Flatiron Building by about 75 years. And right past it on the left, you'll see the Portland Museum of Art, one of the larger museums in the state. Notice that number 7 out front of the museum. That is the address of the museum, 7 Free Street. But it's also a sculpture by American artist Robert Indiana. You might know Indiana for his love sculptures, the letters L-O-V-E, all stacked on top of each other. Indiana is one of many artists who summered here in Maine over the years. He had a summer home on a vinyl haven in the Cape Coast Island off the Cape Coast region of Maine for many years. Years ago. But Maine one of the popular artists here, artist colonies along the coast. The Baxter Building to the right, Portland's first public library. Also plays an interesting role in Portland's prohibition history. There were to be some tunnels underneath there that were used for smuggling during Prohibition. A lot of folks don't know that Maine was actually a leader in the Prohibition movement. In fact, the Prohibition laws were put on the books in other states. Even other countries, they were often referred to as the Maine law. There are lots of interesting reasons behind Prohibition. Obviously, the larger suffrage movement. Interesting causes that tied to women's suffrage as well. But in Maine, in Portland, it really came down to the fact that we were a hard-working town. And what goes with hard working? Not hard drinking. Sorry, we have Longfellow seated in his chair at Monument Square right there. So Portland has a bit of a drinking problem, it's fair to say, which led Portland Mayor Neil Dow to spearhead some of these early Prohibition laws. Dow was known famously or infamously, depending on your perspective, as the godfather of Prohibition. You can see his Dow house to the left right here. There's just one problem with Neil Dow. It's like most many politicians, it seems like. He was a bit of a hypocrite. Didn't exactly practice what he preached here. Brief pause to point out Camden Bacon off to our left, easily the best bakery in the city of Portland. They also roast a heck of a coffee bean there. I know the line's intimidating, but it's neat. That's line we're waiting all day here. So Mayor Dow, bit of a hypocrite. Locals started noticing there were some pretty tipsy guests leaving his Dow house on weekend nights. This led to a good amount of suspicion in town, which caused about 1,200 locals to show up at City Hall in the mid-1800s in what became known as the Portland Rum Riot.